I never got into this to make friends. I have friends. I wasn't trying to make friends with anybody. I'm a competitor. It's America. You're supposed to compete, And that was my analogy I gave the insurance companies. I'm like, thank God Coca-Cola doesn't think that way about Pepsi. They don't drive by the arena and go, you already have Coca-Cola. Oh, we won't stop in there. I mean, they stop in and go, here's what we'll do. Your marketing, you decide to do a little pizza place. They do SoFi Stadium. They go where the Chiefs play. They go everywhere. Like why can't we compete? And I think for me, I relish that part. I wanted to disrupt the market. And I wanted to, quite frankly, piss people off.
Hey, welcome to the Insurance Buzz. We are your hosts, Michael and Courtney Weaver, and we have a special guest today, Mr. Shawn Meaike. Shawn, how are you doing, my man?
I could not be any better, Michael. How are you?
Man, if I was any better, I don't know what I'd be doing with myself, but we are excited today.
We've already been hyped up because before we started talking about this, it was all about the cold plunge.
Cold plunge is important. But if you don't got one, you should get one.
I tell everybody the same thing.
No doubt about it. Change your life.
So I want to jump right into this. Before we get into who you are and what you do, I need to know your daily routine, because if you're cold plunging 7 days a week and you're saunaing 7 days a week, I need to know what's Shawn Meaike's non-negotiables.
Okay. Non-negotiables are that every morning I get up and I go work out. I have to. I have no choice. I do an hour of cardio every morning, and I do I'm 50. So at 50, you kind of transition to, you know what? I don't care how strong I am. That don't age very well. So a lot of low weights, high reps. I get in the sauna for 20 minutes. I had a sauna forever. I never had a cold plunge. And I was out in Scottsdale, and my buddy's like, hey, jump in the cold plunge. Never done it before. Got in. I was like, man, that feels pretty amazing. And then it became this test. I can do it this long. I'm like, dude, I'll stay until I die. I'll definitely beat you, So it became this. So then I was like, done it a few different times. And then I'm like, we should order one. So I live down in Boca. So I ordered one, and I was telling you guys before we started, it's been about a month. And I get in that for 15 minutes, set my little timer, my phone, and I turn some music on. And I've gotten better, because when I first got in, I couldn't talk to anybody, at all. I was just I just couldn't do it. And now I've kind of got the point. Then after about a week or two, I was like, all right, now I can check my phone. And now I've graduated to be able to talk to somebody. So my AirPods in the other day, I was like, I can actually talk while I'm in there now. And so I do that. And then actually I jump in a pool to heat up. And it's funny because I've worked really hard my entire life, and I think I never really had a daily routine. I read every day. I read the Bible. That's the only book I read every day. Whatever everybody believes in, you believe in. I don't judge nobody. That book actually says I can't judge you. I read that every day. I've read all the books too, and they're great. And I read some new ones that people, but for the most part, I try to stay there. And, man, every day I wake up and I want to get better than I was the day before. That's really it. I just want to get better, and I'll live in my business and do the things I want to do and make sure my kids are happy and life's good. So those are my non-negotiables. Other things happen, but those things are non-negotiable. Nothing's going to get in the way of those things anymore. No matter what's going on, I have to do those things.
I love that. So how that entire routine, and I'm very interested in this. How long does that entire routine usually last?
So, hour of cardio, 20 minutes working out, another 20 minutes in the sauna, taking on 20 minutes cold plunge, so 2 hours. Okay. Pool, do some other stuff. So my deal is, if I got to fly somewhere at 6, then I got to do it at 3. If I don't got to do nothing till 8, then I can do it at 5. It's all relative. And when can I get up and do it? But for me, it's a non-negotiable. Just at night, if I want to read, I have to read. No matter how tired I am, I kind of got to go I got to read, and I got to get there. I got to do the things I got to do. So it takes quite a bit of time, but the nice thing is you can adjust that with whatever time you get up. And that's kind of my deal. And I think I've realized I spent a long time in my life with this whole sleeping 2-3 hours a night. And dude, while that's cool, it ain't the healthiest thing in the world. Kind of realized, so it's kind of I can get to bed earlier, do things I got to do, get up at the right time, because when you get to be 50, dude, you start thinking about living longer. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I just you start thinking about enjoying your life and wanting to do the things you want to do. And I don't think it's a midlife crisis. I think it's just a realization of these are the things I want to do in my life. And I'm pretty blessed. My mom and dad are alive. They do really well, pretty good genetics. So you got one life to live. I never thought it was funny to be in terrible shape or to make fun. I just never thought that was funny. I never thought that was, I've been sober 22 years, and that changed my life. I mean, and after that happened, I was kind of like, dude, I actually enjoy life a lot. Because it's always funny when people are like, what's something I should change? I'm like, well, you tend to drink a lot, and alcohol's a depressant, so I don't know. 2 + 2 is 4. I mean, and I'm not mad. Like, I stopped drinking because I have a drinking problem. You know what I mean? I like jump off of hotel roofs, and I want to fight guys in the parking lot, and I want to do stupid stuff. So, like, it's just at some point in time you have to grow up. But for a lot of people, it's just the daily routine and the things that we, anything I can control. I want to win all the small things 100% of the time because they're winnable. Because the big things can knock me around a lot, but the small things I always want to win. So that's kind of how I approach it. It takes quite a bit of time, though, which, first of all, I wasn't doing earlier. I'd try to do cardio for 10 or 15 minutes, lift, and then if I didn't lift, one day. And I was finally like, why don't I just carve out 2 hours to do it? Like, I can carve 2 hours to do it. And then my elliptical, I can be on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
So I tend to do that, and I'm working, and I get an hour in of conversation. So it really allows me to be productive and be able to take some time to do the things I want to do. And I feel better about myself. If I don't work out, I feel like crap. I feel like complete crap. I just don't feel good at all. So it's and it's funny. I was watching something the other day, and it was David Goggins, because everybody's like, you need to take a day off a week and I'm like, I don't know. David Goggins don't do it. He's older too. Like, what the hell I got to do? He's the only one that can be tough in the world. Like, stay hard. I'll stay hard too. What am I worried about? I want to stay hard. So I just kind of like, why do I got to take a day off, man? I'm not really doing anything. It's not like I'm playing a football game in the NFL. I'm not going to tear anything. I'm on the elliptical. I'm on the song. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to get hurt. Like, I don't know what I need a day off for. So I think, my mental health requires me not to take a day off. So those are the non-negotiables for me.
That's so good. That is 2 hours. That is exactly. We actually had this conversation the other day because we both went through our morning routine, and both of us are 2 hours as well. Like, yeah. And you just work backwards from just like you said. Now I'm going to go right into this because this is the kind of person I am. So you've been sober.
I can tell.
We're going straight in.
I like it.
So you've been sober for 28 years?
I've been sober for 22 years.
22 years. So at 28 years old, you got sober.
Correct.
What was the process leading up to that? Did you have a moment where you're like, this shit's got to stop? Like,
I was raised in a lot of substance abuse, a lot of violence, a lot of stuff that I probably shouldn't have seen and been part of. And everybody around me, drank or used drugs or both. And so when you're young and you see that, you want to do it, right? It's that learned behavior, like you want to do it. Like I can remember drinking my first beer at like 10, and I was like, dude, I was dying to do what the men in my life that I'd seen did. I wanted to do that. And then at 12, the men I knew in my life were getting high, and I was getting high too, smoking weed and, doing some other stuff. That graduated to cocaine, and then I started smoking crack. That was a great decision. Somebody asked me that I was somewhere and a guy was eating a honey bun. He's like, this is like crack cocaine. I'm like, dude, have you ever smoked crack? Because it's not remote like crack cocaine. Crack cocaine is the best 25 minutes of your entire life, followed by the worst 25 minutes of your entire life. So a honey bun's not like that. It just makes you fat. You know what I mean? It's not this kind of mood swing kind of deal. I just always wanted to. And I was probably got into my early 20s. I got a job as a social worker. I was working with abused, neglected children, because when you come from a jacked up background, you're going to fix everybody else's stuff, right? When you have history. And I started watching all these families, and I was just like, and a lot of them had a lot of the same issues. And I was just like, kept watching. And so I made this decision, like, let me stop. I want to just stop drinking. I thought it'd be easy. I'm like, I'm going to stop drinking. Like, how hard can it be? And it was a really hard struggle for a couple of years for me. I got in a lot of trouble when I was younger. I got arrested a lot. And everything was under the influence. I didn't find a way to get in a fight with some guy in a parking lot sober. I found a way not to do that for all my life. But every time I was doing something stupid, I was under the influence. And, so I was in Florida. I was actually in St. Pete. I played college baseball, and then like a lot of college baseball players, when you get done, you play slow pitch softball, which is really embarrassing, but you do it, and you cut the sleeves off your shirt, and you think it's a sport, and you warm up, and you get excited. It's really kind of it's probably one of the most embarrassing things I've ever done in my life. And we would travel around the country and get drunk and play these games, right? And all the guys were good athletes, good ball players. So, and we were playing all weekend long. It was like a Saturday night. We were playing the finals on a Sunday, and my buddies were in the parking lot, and I was like 3 floors up, this really low rent hotel, and they were arguing with these guys in the parking lot who I didn't know. So I jumped off of the deck and I landed on this guy's car and I busted my face open and everything. And if you drink a lot, you've woken up kind of trying to remember, did that really happen or not? Was it a dream or a nightmare? And all my sheets in this low rent hotel were literally stuck to me. It looked like I woke up and I was like, it looked like a murder scene. I didn't remember anything. And then some of the stuff started to come to me. And it's weird because I did all that, like pulled these sheets off my face. It was brutal, and got dressed. And my friends were waiting for me. And they had this look of like disgust in their eyes. And they were all kinds of effed up. So it was like, even the effed up people know this is bad, right? And went to my game, couldn't play, the whole deal. And that was it. And I have a faith. I do believe God, to me, that day was like, you like, this is it. I mean, I was hit by a truck when I was 9. I was messing around my bike, jumped in the air, got hit, broke my legs, broke my hip, my heart stopped. I've had a lot of other accidents, flip quads, done stupid stuff, and I'm still here. And I had this idea, like, it was almost like I felt like if I didn't do this, he was going to stop saving me. Like either become a productive citizen or like, what do I care? Kind of, that's how I thought. I'm not saying that's what was said to me. Nobody woke me up in the middle of the night. I didn't have a vision. I just felt that in my heart. And that was it. I told my buddies I'm going to quit. They're like, you'll never quit. I was like, okay. And that was it. I never drank again, never used drugs again. Never. And I also was having, I wanted to have kids. And I never wanted to have kids and have them see the thing. I just didn't want to. So I was like, I was thinking about it, and I had just gotten married, but I was like, I'm not. So I just knew that I wanted to have kids. So my kids, the greatest gift I've given my kids, they've never seen me drink or use drugs, and they're 19 and 21. So that's been the greatest thing that I think that I've done. So it's because you watch, and kids tend to want to do. I got friends of mine that are like, can you believe so and so is really jacked up? I'm like, yeah, I mean, you've been getting drunk and high in front of him his whole life. I'm actually kind of think I'm not surprised. I'm not trying to say he's not a bad kid. He just had you as a role model. If my son has anger management issues, I have demonstrated that for him. I'm not proud of it, but it's probably not like I have demonstrated that if some guy cuts you off in the parking lot and comes in the gas station and says something, you might want to get in his face and grab him. Like, that's not a good idea, but I did role model the poor behavior. So, but yeah, I've been sober. It was quite a run. First couple of years sucked. For those of you it sucked. First 6 months really sucked. And the first couple of years was just me re-identifying who I was. But after that, man, it was just like, I had never felt better in my life. Talk about weight. I dropped 28 pounds in like 3 months. Like 3 months. Like I just drinking so much and eating so much. It wasn't working. It's just, such a terrible. I don't even know if I'd be alive. I don't think I would be, just with everything else. So yeah, here I am.
That's a hell of a story.
Yeah.
So what? All right, so I'm on beer course now. So what led you into the financial services industry? Because I don't think you had a financial services history before starting Family First Life.
Yeah, I got my real estate license.
Okay.
And I got that when I got out of college. I ended up going to the police academy, and I never wanted to be a police officer. My buddy went, so I went with him. I went through the class. I just knew it wasn't for me, kind of deal. And I was on my field training, my FTO, your field training officer, and we responded to a call, and I probably got a little aggressive. And one of the guys that was running away, I thought he was the perpetrator, but he was kind of the victim, and I may have went ahead and tackled him and subdued him, even though he was a victim. And my FTO was like, dude, this is just like never going to work for you. Like, you're like way too, like, this isn't like TV. Like 99% of the time you're going to be bored out of your mind. Like, you're not going to like it. And a friend of mine had gotten a job as a social worker and child protective services worker, and it paid like 14 grand more, and nobody was going to shoot at me for the most part. So I was like, I'm going to do that. So I went and took that. And after about a year and a half, I was there, and I'm like, I got to find something else to do. And I had no financial services background, no entrepreneurial background, nothing. But I'm like, I'm going to get a real estate license. So I got my real estate license, and I started but just, listing some properties, made some sales, and I started buying and selling properties, flipping them, and then I started buying multifamily properties. So I did a lot of that while I was a social worker, so I had 2 jobs. And then in 2008, when the market changed, I like a lot of other people, it went bad. Now, people say to me, man, it was not your fault. I'm like, no, there were people that did good when the market turned. I wasn't prepared. There were other people that were bigger and better, and it thinned the herd, and I was part of the thinning. But I knew I was thinned. I didn't like hold on for it. I knew I was thinned, and I was buying at that time in 2008. I was like, well, I'm just going to buy more multifamily properties, buy them cheaper, and I'll have better cash flow. and I was looking at a 4-family house in Norwich, Connecticut. I was born and raised in Connecticut my whole life. I moved to Florida 3 years ago. And the broker that was listing it said, you should get an insurance license. And I was like, why? Like, I never in my wildest dreams thought about selling life insurance. And he said, it's a good part-time job. And I'm like, how do you get your license? He said, well, you can take the class online, then sit for the exam. And I was like, I just like said no like 3 times, and he would badger me enough. And then finally I said, well, who do you sell life insurance to? And he showed me a lead. And I looked at it, and it was direct mail. It was filled out and signed. And I said, so I called the lead. Like, I don't have a license. I called the lead because I wanted to see if he was telling me the truth. And the person actually answered. And then they were like, hello. And I was like, I kind of put him on hold. I said, where do they say we're calling from? He's like, I don't know, Protection Center. I was like, okay, hey, Susan, this is Shawn, Protection Center, blah, 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 New London County. I started, like, talking. And I said, I had this thing you filled out, and I needed to get the information out to you. Does tomorrow at 6 work or 8 or 10 p.m.? Which one works better? She's like, I guess 6. I said, okay, I'll be over at 6. I drive a Honda Accord. I don't have much time. Make sure you have your information out. Meaike. I just started saying all this stuff because it was common sense. And she hung up, and he's like, how do you know how to do that? I'm like, I don't know. How do you know how to walk? Like, you gave me a lead, and I called it. Like, I didn't do anything special. And I said, I'm going to go see her tomorrow. And he's like, you don't have an insurance license. I said, I need an insurance license to sell the products. And he's like, yeah. I said, then why don't you go sell her? And then, like, you should give me something. Made the appointment. What got me excited was I realized I said, how many of these leads you got? He said, you can buy as many as you want. I was like, I'm in. And I got my license, and probably I went online, took me like 2 or 3 days to finish the course online. I sat for the exam like 3. So within like 8 days from when when I decided I called that lead, I had my insurance license. And so it was kind of perfect timing because the real estate market was changing. If you've ever owned rental properties, it's a lot of fun till it's not kind of deal. And, at that point I'd gotten up to probably 310 units, and it was decent cash flow, but when you looked at all of it, it really wasn't. It was fine. It was good, but it wasn't passive. It was very active in getting out there, collecting rents, doing all that. So I kind of stopped real estate at that point in time. I was like, you know what? I'm going to try this insurance thing. I'm just going to pause it. I'm going to hire a property manager, pay him my percentage, and go on this insurance deal and see how it works out. In my first week, I sold like $10,000 in policies. And I was like, well, how much do I get paid? Because in real estate, I was like at 6% co-broke. I get 3% on a good, he's like, you have 55%. And I was like, that's great. 55% is unbelievable. And I started getting paid, and I was like, this is unbelievable. And then I did that for about 9 or 10 months, and I went into the state, and I quit my job. I was like, dude, I was making 70, 80 grand a year, benefits. Matter of fact, when I told my mom, I love my mom, but I don't ask my mom for permission. Like, I left there when I was like a teenager, but I'm always not. I love my mom. So I was like, hey, I'm just letting you know I'm not working there anymore. And she was like, oh my God, did you start using again? And I was like, no, I just don't want to work there anymore. She's like, well, who would leave a state job? You know what I mean? And at the time, because I had gone that real estate very long, I'd played with that for so long until '08. And, and it's funny because people say to me, were you scared when you left your job? And it was like all I ever knew. But I was scared that if I kept my job my whole life, like, I never wanted to live with any regret. Like, I've made plenty, but I don't want to live there. And my kids were getting older, and I knew they were going to want to do things in life. I just thought they're good athletes. There's things they wanted to accomplish and where they went to school. And, so when I quit, I went all in. Like, I was selling my first year full time. I think I sold like $450,000 in premium by myself. And these were all middle American policies. And I crushed it there for 5 years. But then I was like, you know what? Like, I want a better deal. Like, I was always wanted to be treated unfairly, fairly. Like, I did really well, and I had like outsold everybody. I had a big agency. So I was like, I want a new deal. Cut me a new deal. And the guy I worked for was like, first he said he would. And then when I left, he called me and said, we don't cut any more dues. So I launched my own company in December 12, 2013 and just did it on my own. So
that's fantastic. So how do you, so I've been waiting to have this conversation. All right. So I've been excited about this. So how do you even go about, this is interesting, starting your own life insurance company?
Well, it's weird because when I made a decision, I was talking to a buddy of mine, and when it hit me, I said, why can't I do what these guys do? Like, I don't, why can't I launch an insurance marketing organization and sell the products? And it's funny because he'd been in the business a lot longer than me, and he said to me, number one, you have no capital. I said, okay, good point. He said, you have no experience running one. I said, good point. He said, and third, the insurance carriers, they all kind of already work with the company you work with. You're going to have to find somebody to contract you. And I was like, okay, those are all valid. Okay, got it. I said, but here's the problem. I'm doing it either way. Like, I'm going to do it either way. And what's funny is I said, it's either going to go really well or I'm going to like go down in a ball of flames. But either way, that I'm going to do it. And I found a company in Kansas City, actually, who didn't have any contracts. I had not ever worked with them. They had no contracts with the company I was with. And so I called the CMO, Chief Marketing Officer. I mean, God, 50 times. And you talk about God being great. He would never return my phone call. And a buddy of mine calls me that I've been in insurance with for like a year. And I knew when we played college football. And he called me just out of the blue. I was like, hey, what are you doing? He's like, hey, man, I'm working at this company. And he had worked at the previous company I was at as well and went out on his own. But then he left there and went to a captive deal. And I said, hey, when you went on your own, who'd you get a contract with? And he told me. And I was like, you know those people? He's like, yeah, I know them. And I said, do you know the chief marketing officer? He's like, yeah, I have his cell phone. Because I've been calling his landline, like the office line. I was like, you have a cell phone? He's like, yeah, you want it? I was like, yeah. So the first time I called, the guy answered. And the first thing he said to me was, how did you get my cell number? And I told him who gave it to me. And he said, let me ask you something. What do you and him have in common professionally? And I said, absolutely nothing. I'm the hardest worker you'll ever meet. And he don't work hard. But I love him. He's a good tackler. He's a good dude, but he doesn't work hard. And he got quiet, and I said, sir, all I want is an opportunity to meet you. I'll fly to Kansas City. I'll drive to Kansas City. I'll ride my bicycle to Kansas City, but I need to meet you. And he said, where are you at? At the time I was in Connecticut. He said, I have to come out that way anyway. I said, can we meet? He said, yes. And he came out to Connecticut, and when he sat down with me, he said the same thing. You don't have any capital. You don't have any experience. We'd be your only insurance carrier. Everybody tells me they'll do tons of volume. And I said, well, at some point in time, I said, you have a job and you get paid commission, right? And this guy's dad was a very successful football coach. I had done a little research on him before he got there. And I said, when I talk to you, do you believe that I believe that I'm going to achieve? And he's like, yeah, I do. I said, you meet all kinds of people and they say they're going to do something and they don't do it, right? I said, you give me 3 reasons that I can't do it, but I'll give you 3 reasons I can. I'm very humble. When we succeed, and we will succeed, it'll be because the team's great, not because I'm great. I'm not an idiot. I'm very, very humble. And I'm very selfless, where I'm going to structure it where we all can make a bunch of money together, and I'm going to continue to be selfless. And I said, the last thing is I'm fearless. I'm afraid of God. But I ain't afraid of anything else. I'm just not. It doesn't make me anything. I'm not some special tough guy. I'm just not afraid. I genuinely don't have fear. And it's a gift. I said, so why don't you want to be in business with me? Give me a target to hit the first year. He said, you have to issue $8 million with us, or I'll terminate your contract. I said, $8 million by myself or my entire company? I was just trying to be a complete wise ass. And he goes, no, your entire company. He goes, $8 million by yourself. And so I could sell $1 million by myself. I get 7 of my buddies. We could do $8 million. First year we did like 9.2, something like that. And I said, were you going to fire us? He goes, our number one guy's doing $4 million. I threw $8 million out there. I wouldn't have fired you if you did $2 million. And to give you an idea, now 9 years later, first year, that was the only company we had. And we did $9 million. In this past year, in 2022, we finished at, when you take our paid life and paid annuity volume, it's right at 650 million, 660 million paid. And our goal is $1 billion in 23, which I know seems like a lot of growth, but I think we can get there. And our deal was to be $1 billion company in 10 years. So the answer is, how do you do it? You know, finding people you can ingratiate yourself with, working really hard, finding out what your skill set was. I didn't pretend to be somebody I wasn't. I didn't debate him on the lack of capital. I had a lack of capital. I didn't debate him on my lack of experience. I didn't debate him on anything, you know. And then I left a company. That's a whole different deal, because when you leave a company and they think that you're supposed to not leave them, they'll sue you. So that was my first experience doing that. And I was kind of like, whatever. I remember they're like, what'd you do when they served you? I'm like, I ate lunch. Like, what do you want me to do, bro? I just went to work. Like, at the end of the day, the thing for me was, all I wanted to do was to be courageous and try to help other people. That was it. And it's been an amazing run. And I think we're kind of just getting started. I love the industry. We work in the middle American marketplace. Nobody ever knocked on my mom's apartment door and tried to sell us life insurance ever. And we lived in, housing that was based on your income. And subsidized housing. I mean, my mom was talking about the other day. She had such a hard time finding a place for us to live, being a single mom and the income. And so nobody ever rolled up and in my place and was like, hey, where's your mom? Nobody called the rotary phone we had trying to sell her insurance. And my uncles died with no life insurance. My grandparents died with no life insurance. Nobody around me had life insurance. Matter of fact, I didn't have life insurance until, this is weird, right? But like, I'm educated. I went to college. I have a degree. I have a master's degree. Like, I work really hard. I got sober. Like, I'm a relatively successful adult. I didn't get life insurance until I got my license. Like, I never even thought about it. Like, it never even crossed my mind. I mean, thank God I hadn't died when my kids were young. Like nothing for their mother, nothing for them, nothing at all. So that's really how I started it. And, we went from one carrier. Now we work with about 17. And I think some of the decisions we made early on when we got in the business, when you're new, it's challenging, right? Because the bigger people don't like you to grow. And I never got into this to make friends. I have friends. I wasn't trying to make friends with anybody. I'm a competitor. It's America. You're supposed to compete, And that was my analogy I gave the insurance companies. I'm like, thank God Coca-Cola doesn't think that way about Pepsi. They don't drive by the arena and go, you already have Coca-Cola. Oh, we won't stop in there. I mean, they stop in and go, here's what we'll do. Your marketing, your site, they do a little pizza place. They do SoFi Stadium. They go where the Chiefs play. They go everywhere. Like why can't we compete? And I think for me, I relish that part. I wanted to disrupt the market. And I wanted to, quite frankly, piss people off. And then I wanted them to have the courage to come to my face and tell me they were pissed. So was kind of my motivation. Big, massive chip on my shoulder. Massive. By watching my mom and how she was treated and how she worked 3 jobs and how people talked down to her. And the greatest thing I did when I got outside of my kids was, buying my mom a place to live. Like she struggled her whole life, got retiring her from her job. She worked forever, give her, she has a car and she can come and go as she pleases. And that makes me happy, So a lot of luck, I guess. God is great, and a lot of just hard work and not backing down. And sometimes we don't have the answer, just acting like you do and just keep plugging and being solution focused. That's the other thing. I don't do problem focused. I told guys when we started, the new idea department is closed. We're going to be solution focused. I don't need you to bitch, moan, and complain about what's not going good. I got it. But we're going to be solution focused, and at the end of the day, anything else will take away from what we're trying to do. We can't focus on outside influences. If there's litigation, I forbid them from talking about it. We can't talk about it. Like, why is it illegal? I'm like, it's illegal to me. It's because it's nonsensical and it won't accomplish anything. We had an insurance carrier one day say to us, like a carrier, said, hey, you got to stop doing this in your marketing. I said, but it's perfectly legal and compliant. And they said, I know, but the other partners don't like it. And I said, well, I don't work there. And they said, well, we're just letting you know, we've been working with them a long time. And they think that you have an advantage and they don't like it. I said, well, I'm not changing it. And they said, well, we're going to terminate you. I mean, and you don't want to be terminated by insurance carriers, a company, right? It's not your goal. And I said, well, we're not changing it. And I had about one staff at that time, actually 2. My buddy Mike was sitting right next to me. I hung up the phone. He said, you think they're going to terminate us? I said, sure as shit, they're going to terminate us. I said, but you're going to send them an email right now. We're going to terminate them first and send a FedEx. I'm going to sign it. And we sent ours on that Friday that night. We got one Monday or Tuesday. And the funny thing was, I went to our guys and said, hey, we're trying to gain carriers, but we can't compromise who we are. We just can't. I just can't. I can, if you want me to, like, every time they say jump, I jump. I can't do that. I don't know how to run the company. One of y'all is going to have to run the company. And everybody was behind it. We worked with that company again. They waited a year and they were like, man, it's the biggest mistake we ever made. And I'm like, we're their number one distributor. Like, we're number one distributor for a lot of the companies we work with, almost all of them. And I just always wanted to be treated, again, unfairly, fairly. I mean, if you hit 50 home runs, they pay you. If you hit 11 and you hit 220, they cut you. Why wouldn't it be that way in business too? And I think I'm not a big seniority guy. I don't care how long somebody's been doing something. I don't care. I always tell the carriers, I don't care they sucked at it for 30 years. How do I get penalized for that? Like, if they suck, I mean, I beat them in 4 years. They've been doing this 30 years. Like, how bad are they? That was always my thing. How are you guys so good? I'm like, well, you guys kind of suck. So, like, I don't know if I'm that good. I just compete with you and you suck. Like, I don't know. I guess I'm better than you. I'm a big perspective person. You know what I mean? I want to keep grounded and try to ground myself and ground everybody else, I guess. So
Shawn,
that's kind of what we did.
I want to headbutt you right now. Like, this is where I'm at.
I don't want you to headbutt me. Your husband. I don't want you to.
It's so much energy, and I love what you're talking about, and it brings up a point. So I've heard something about you, that you have a unique skill set, and I hear it like right now. I'm like, yes, I want to like pat on my chest and do the whole thing. but I have heard that you have, I know, we're doing it. We're getting after it.
Oh, yeah.
It's a whole Wolf of Wall
I'm
Street.
excited. Yeah.
I heard that you have the skill set to be able to pluck out people and make them millionaires. And I want to know, who the hell are you looking at? What do they have that sets them apart?
I think that I think that I've been able to identify and move through like all the bullshit and figure out what it would take for them to have the ability to achieve it, right? Like there's no magic. I think for me, accountability is number one. So I like to make people uncomfortable real fast and see how accountable they are. If you're crazy defensive, that means you're just immature. Maybe you're emotionally immature, whatever. But I can't help you, right? So if I go like, hey, Michael, do you always dress like that? You know, and I'm at a meeting and the guy's I don't care what he's wearing. Doesn't he? And if he's like, what's wrong with it? And I can just tell if he's defensive, I'm good. I just can't get there anywhere with him, right? You know, I want to see how much courage they got. And you know, I don't need them to be book smart. I don't care if they can give me history of World War. It doesn't matter to me. But I want to know, can they process information, and do they have a good emotional IQ? Like, do they understand relationships? Can they communicate? How do they communicate? So, because again, if I got to work that hard to get them to do anything, it's going to take me a long, long, long time, right? So I think that, and I don't judge anybody. You know, I'm discerning these things, but it doesn't mean any of them are, you know, and if I don't know, I ask. I go, hey, dude, do you always look like that? What do you mean? Like, you're like miserable and you want to you literally want to just jump off the roof. Like, can you smile? Can you be happy? Like, what's going on in your life? I want to challenge them. I also want to know their history. And I want to see if they talk about it. Hey, so your mom and dad raised you? Well, yeah. Dude, are you uncomfortable talking about it? No. Okay. You have siblings? Yeah. Where are you in the birth order? Got it. Okay. Did you go to college? Did you do this? Did you do that? And I just want to hear from them, because if they communicate, that makes my job. Then I can actually go, okay, here's all the information. Because listen, and the thing for me is, what does that mean to you? I want to be worth $1 million. I want to make $1 million a year. I want my net worth to be this. And all I'm trying to teach them is to carry themselves in a certain way, you know? And I think that for me, that was driven into me when I was really young. And it was driven into me for other reasons. It was purely, you know, don't smile, don't back down. People take shit from you, you know? And I can remember, you know, my parents split. My father lived in a really bad area. And we didn't live in a good area, but he like lived in a really bad area. And he would like have me go to the store, you know, in the mornings. And I was 9. And you know, you get smacked around by a bunch of 18-year-olds for $5 after a little bit. You start to pay attention to, you know, just care, you know. So I think for me it was, and I had to then unlearn that, right? Then I had to, like, I got into sales and I had to learn to smile. And I always sought out mentors that were like that were really hardcore on me. If they cared, I was good. That was the thing when I played ball. If you cared, I'd do anything you wanted me to do. Football, baseball, basketball was totally good. But if you didn't care, I didn't care either. I was like, you didn't want me in the team. If you didn't care, I didn't care. Like I'd play, I'd perform. I wanted to win. I wanted to win for me and my teammates, but not for you. And I think that I wanted to be the person they wanted to win for. I wanted them to win for themselves and win for their teammates. But if I treated them right and sacrificed my time and spoke into them and stood up for them, I wanted them to not want to let me down too. Not out of egoism, but because I know I can help better. So, you know, I just watch and kind of see. I like a chip on their shoulder. You know, I like a guy that stands up for himself. You know, I like a guy that can communicate. And I challenge them really fast. I'm exceptionally good doing that with men, and I admittedly am not good doing it with women. I was raised by a single mom. So I'm not like, I'm trying. I'm doing the best I can. But, you know, if I walk by both of you, I start talking to Michael and figure out what I can do. I'm not trying to be sexist. I'm just saying, like, I know where I can communicate. And also I'm over the top because, you know, when your mom raises you, you know, it's your mom. You know, it's certain things you do or don't say and the way you act and the way you react. So, but I think just really trying to find that in people, their nonverbal cues and asking them stuff that makes them uncomfortable maybe. And I love when they tell their story, because if they tell their story and they say nothing, I got a buddy of mine who works with us who's made millions and millions and millions of dollars. And when I first asked him how he got in life insurance, he's like, well, you know, he gave me this ridiculous answer. You know, like, I was in medical school and I was bored. I'm like, dude, people don't leave medical school to get an insurance license. Like, you were geared to be in medical school your whole life. Everybody in your family's a doctor. Like, what happened? And then he took a step back and he's like, I said, tell me the real story because you're freaking me out. It's weird. He's like, All right, my mom got cancer when I was in high school. She got it twice. My dad's a doctor. He couldn't leave the practice. I had to drive her to and from chemotherapy in the morning. It was an hour and a half from my house. I had to quit playing lacrosse my last year because I couldn't make lacrosse practice and and he went on and on and on. I saw how my dad, I said, that's your story. That freaking story right there. Not the, I was in medical school and I got bored. Like, you sound like a freaking idiot. Like, either tell your story or not. And if you can't tell it, go, I'm uncomfortable telling my story. I don't want anybody to know anything about me. But then you're going to want to get into sales and mentor people. So I kind of wanted to, we always joke about it at the company and say I wanted to 8 Mile that thing. Like, I'm a big fan of the Eminem movie at the very end where he's kind of like, yeah, like I live in a trailer with my mom and, like my boy, he did this and my boy Cheddar Bob shot himself and you know what I mean? Like, and y'all jumped me and then you slept with my girlfriend and like, I'm still standing here screaming F you. Like, here's all the stuff you need to know about me. Call it a day. It's funny. I got, I don't know how many years ago it was, 3 years ago. I'm running around like crazy going to a meeting and I carry a gun, just so y'all know. If you get near me and you try to mess with me, and you come at me, I'm like, you're robbing me. Like, when I pull up in the gas station, I'm hoping you pick me because I'm armed. I don't want you to pick an unarmed person. I'm armed. I'm going to put 2 in your chest and 1 in your head, 100%. Then I'm going to drink my Diet Mountain Dew, wait for the cops to show up. Like, that's it. So I always carry a gun everywhere I go. And so I was running around like crazy and I forgot my gun in my bag. I was going to the airport. And, I had moved a book out of there. So the weight differential, my son had baseball practice. I never carry my gun with other kids in the car. That's rule. If my kids have friends in the car, I don't, because I just don't. Like, the parents didn't give me permission to do that. But outside of that, if it's just my kids or by myself or with people or adults, I carry a gun. So at the airport, they go through, and I go to the airport all the time. So they know me. And they're like, do you have something in your bag? There's nobody there. It's on a Sunday. And I'm like, shit. And in Connecticut, each state's different. Some states, they go put that back in the car. Georgia goes, hey, go put that back in the car. That's what they do. Mississippi, Connecticut, they don't do that. So they call state police. State police come over, and the guy's like, you got a gun? He's like, yeah. He's like, is it loaded? I'm like, who the hell carries an unloaded gun? I said, it's loaded with a bullet in the chamber. Don't pull the trigger. Like, of course it's loaded. You know what I mean? And so they arrest me, And I remember my daughter was student of the year at her high school. Okay, 3,200 kids, student of the year. Same day in the newspaper, she's student of the year. I'm in the police logs, right? And I remember somebody called me and they're like, I saw you in the news. I was like, yeah, dude, like, I got arrested. That's what happens. How can I help you? Like, at the end of the day, dude, like, it is what it is. I didn't wake up one day and try, and I think that's what I'm trying to get. Like, I didn't, and by the way, when you try to sneak a gun on the airplane, I wouldn't sneak a gun through your x-ray machine. Like, I'm not an idiot. I didn't try to sneak a gun in the air, but that's salacious and they get excited, right? Matter of fact, what happened was the cops were so cool. They're like, hey, we're not going to we're going to arrest you, but we're not going to report it. Like, the news has nothing else to do. So they didn't for like 6 days. It just kept saying, man arrested. And it wouldn't say my name. And I'm like, it's making the people excited because they think it's somebody famous. They're really going to be let down. They know it when they say it's Shawn Meaike. Nobody even knows who I am. So nobody's going to care. But then it finally was on the news, And, but it was like, somebody's like, aren't you mad? I'm like, yeah, my mugshot, I look really bad. I'm not mad about it. Like, I did. What do you want me to do? And I think that's the thing with people is they're shamed into so many things in their life. Like, and so I'm looking for people that know that their history doesn't define who they are. And dude, if you can't fix it and you can't control it, don't focus on it. So, I don't know this whole, well, they have to have been broke or they can't be successful. That's not true either. Well, they have to have this. They don't think they have to have anything but accountability. They have to have a good work ethic. I think they do have to have an intelligence level, where they can communicate with people. And they have to be moldable and teachable and coachable. Meaning the first thing they can't do is get defensive. A lot of people's face color changes when you challenge them. And I just move on to the next person. I'm like, hey, good to meet you, Michael. Sounds good. I'm like, what do you think about Michael? I'm like, I don't know. I asked him one question. He turned 3 different shades of red. I mean, I don't know. I'm embarrassed. I don't know. I found somebody else. That's just a maturity thing, So I think that's what I look for. And that's what I try to challenge really fast and build relationships with people,
I love all of that. I mean, the 5 that just stood out to me with almost everything you've said is hard work, persistence, communication, coachable, and fearless. Like, that's and I love how you are unapologetically your freaking self, man. Like, I dig that. Like, it's
appreciate that.
It's good. So I got a question. So you've went from 3 people starting off pretty much when you started Family First Life to now thousands. How many thousands?
27,000 agents.
I'm very interested in what does the challenge of that growth look like, not only from an organization, but even you as a leader, because that's a substantial growth in a decade.
Yeah. It's challenging, man. It was very humbling, unnerving, uncomfortable, because making decisions when there's 8 of you and you're trying to sell some policies is like, okay, but you get bigger. And what I started to do, Michael, is get really focused and surrounding myself with really good people. I never pretended I knew everything. So I was like, okay, these accountants were okay for the 12 of us. And I went to them nicely, like, hey, this has outgrown you, correct? I'd like you to still handle QuickBooks, but let's bring somebody else in. I love you as an attorney and you're good people, but you're $200 an hour and theirs are $1,400 an hour. I'm going to get beat all day long. So like, I still want you to handle certain things, but I need to get around other people. And then when you launch something small, there's no advisory board, there's no board, there's no council members, there's none of that because it's just you. And I really had to learn to lean on people. So I really kind of, I would say more informally created my own council, if you will, my own advisory board, right? Where I kind of said, okay, this guy's really good at lead distribution in IT. You know, I really don't have a COO. Let me get this guy that's got 30 years experience. He's not going to tell me how to mold agents. He has no idea how to do that, but he's going to be really good at infrastructure, IT, onboarding, leaderboards. Like, oh, let's do that. I would have never had that position when we were small, right? So I really just tried to build the infrastructure accordingly, not just try to make myself all things to all people. I actually think my job is, weirdly enough, I enjoy the delegation. I'm surrounded by really good people. It was a lot harder early on. Like the second or third year, when you don't have the money to do those things and you're trying to be all things to all people, when I finally made a decision to say, okay, you know what, let me live where I am. I can talk to people. I can hopefully motivate them. I can empower them, challenge them. I can deal with the insurance companies. You know, I'm very unpredictable. So that's good. Like they don't know what to do. So they're trying to figure out like he's unpredictable and it gives me an advantage because I'm unpredictable. Even if they're watching, I'm unpredictable. I'm so unpredictable they won't even be able to, there's nothing they could do anyway because they don't know what I'm going to do on a daily basis. I'm going to be compliant. I'm going to be legal. Other than that, they don't know what I'm going to do or I'm going to say or what kind of move we're going to make with the company. But I got so many good people around me, man. My job's become a lot easier. And I think also a lot more enjoyable. And I run it like a democracy. You know, I think that it sounds like I get excited. Everybody's like, yeah, no, I run it like I tell people all the time, if you screw something up and it jeopardizes the company, if it takes me 4 hours to fix it, for those 4 hours, it will be a dictatorship, meaning I'm going to do what I have to do. After the 4 hours is up, we're back to a democracy. But like y'all jack this thing up and I have to fix it with the attorneys, with whatever the deal is, I have to fix it. This happened to sales. This message got put out. I have to fix it. Now I love y'all, but I know how to fix it. Do your deal. And I think, and a buddy of mine told me this morning, I've worked with him for about 12 years. And he said to me this morning, he goes, you know, a lot of the stuff you said to me over the years has really pissed me off. But what I realized is because you care so much and you earn the right with how hard you worked, it never really detract. Like I always kept working. And he was talking about other guys, like this guy's trying to do what you do and he's not earned the right to do it. And it's not working for him. You know, so I think also letting people stay in their lane. I know where I'm really good, and I don't. If somebody's got a problem with the way the leads are being delivered, I immediately just get them to somebody else. Why do I want to talk about it? A, I'm not inclined to talk about it. B, I'm of no help, and I don't want to be of any help, and I have no plans on research. I don't know. I have no idea. You tell me what insurance carrier issues if they have diabetes. I don't know. I'm working with attorneys and the carriers and compliance. I have no idea, man. Nor do I care because that's not my job anymore. You know, and I think you transition from being a salesman, because I was a really good salesman in insurance. I sold a lot of insurance, to being a good manager, to then being a good leader, and then I guess being a good, call it whatever you want, president, CEO of the company. I mean, I'm just trying to get better, but get better with better people around me. And you know, I think part of my deal, I had to become a little bit more, I had some good mentors. I don't have many. I don't pay mentors. These are guys in the business. I do pay them. They get, when I sell life insurance, they make money. So, but I don't, you know, I mean, it's not something I found online to somebody that's not in the insurance business. That drives me crazy too. Like, you know, you guys are in this business. You guys are insanely successful, but you see how many people that are not in the insurance business that try to train insurance agents? Like, by the way, the epitome of stupidity is for anybody in the insurance business to pay anybody any money who's not in it to help them. That actually is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, I don't care if they claim to be a billionaire. They're probably not a billionaire anyway, the people that tell you. If they tell you they're going to 87x your business, they're probably lying. Like, dude, stop the madness. You know, get around people that are actually in the industry. I found people in my space that were good at it. and I allowed them to mentor me. And if they had something, they write a book, like y'all wrote, like the stuff you do, I've seen your stuff. It's really good. And you're in the business. If you're in the business, talk to me. And that's what I think is happening, unfortunately. It's a massive business. And we talk about this with our people all the time. And they're like, this guy is doing so great. I'm like, because he did what? Walked on hot coals? Like anybody can walk on hot coals. Like, what are you paying him 10 grand for? Like, dude, what is actually wrong with you? Like, but they're looking so badly to be mentored and motivated, because then they don't have to worry about their own work ethic. And I want to empower. I don't want to motivate. That's just what I want to do. So I think for me, I had to become a little more polished. And I know that because this, going around, to use your words, Courtney, going around headbutting guys is fine to an extent, but I had to learn to, and I learned that from one of my mentors that's been in the insurance business a long time, owns an insurance company, very successful man. And he's just taught me to because I can get frustrated quick and I can inadvertently become problem focused, not solution focused. And, we've had some conversation where I don't like what's happening with something that's going on, even with his company. And he's like, yeah, I just like you to help me with the solution, the stuff you preach about all the time. If we could just do that, that'd be great. And it just grounds me. And I respect the living hell out of him, so he can say whatever he wants. It's like that football coach that can say anything he wants, to me. So, that's been the biggest challenge, and I've found that that's allowed us to continue to grow and bringing in more opinions of people. They need to have a voice. But again, if you're productive, you have a voice. When people call me, a guy called me at midnight. He's like, "Sorry for calling you." I said, "Dude, you issue $1 million a year by yourself. You can call me whenever you want." But if somebody calls me, does 80 grand a year, I'm not mad at you. But don't be like, boss me. Like, I love you. I'm not mad. I'm here for you. We have a great company. You're awesome. But dude, people are going to be treated unfairly, fairly. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's okay. It happens in every aspect of life. That's the problem with society nowadays. We're trying to, and it's actually, and not only does it contradict common sense, it just contradicts human behavior. People are, at some point in time, the people that don't like it are going to fight back. They're stronger than the people that like it. They're always going to win. Winners are always going to win. So you try to keep a bunch of people down, whether it's academic achievement, athletic achievement, try to treat them all equal. The people that aren't achieving anyway, dude, they don't care. But the ones that are trying to achieve, they're really going to dislike you, and they're really going to figure it out, and it becomes hard. So I think for us, it's been focusing on that too. If you're successful and you have an opinion, I'm going to hear you. It doesn't mean we're going to change something, but I am going to hear you. And we have a lot of staff too now, so now I can delegate a lot of that. Hey, talk to Meike. Hey, why don't you go talk to Catherine? Talk to Bill. Like, let's, and I lean on them and let them make decisions too, empowering them to make decisions. Because I think a lot of people, they have to be the one that makes all the, I don't. When it goes good, it's because the staff's great, the agents are great, the managers are great. When it goes bad, it's because it's my fault. That's kind of how I proceeded with that. And I mean it. And I live that every day. So I don't go like, you guys sound like, I suck. It's my fault. We didn't grow the way we need to grow last year. And if we grow really well, I'm like, I just like Mike Krzyzewski coaching the Olympic team. I have really good players. My job's not to screw it up.
Shawn, this is so good. And you're hitting on a point that I hear a lot, especially dealing with corporate America in the insurance space, is almost that division between corporate and the agency field. So with 27,000 agents, how are you really keeping that culture of, because you have this balance of, I respect you, I hear you, I care for you, but we're also going to be productive, solution focused, and move the needle. So how are you translating that as a company culture?
What we've always said is we have this three-legged stool approach to the company. It has to be great for the client. Like, we have to start there. What we do has to be great for the client, and it has to be great for the agent. But it also can't hurt the company. And a lot of times, well-intended agents and managers want to do things, but it would actually be harmful to the company. So it's kind of like, I hear you, but if we did something that was harmful to you, you wouldn't like it. And if we did something that was harmful to the client, you wouldn't like it. So the things you want us to do will actually harm the company. We can't do that. It could be anything. It could be like, I don't like that we're doing this, and that's a compliancy issue. Why do we have to do it? Because if we don't do it, it hurts the company. And this is the company you work at. You might think it's great for you in the short run. You might think it's great for the client because it doesn't affect them, but it does. So I think we try to keep that balance, and also respect on both sides. Meaning, like, I don't want the agents speaking to anybody disrespectfully, the staff, anybody. There's never, ever a time for that. If Michael's frustrated with selling, he calls up and gets Catherine on the phone and says, this is F and Michael's fired. Simple. Michael had a bad day. I'm sorry. I didn't say Michael's a bad person. He's just terminated. His contract's terminated because I have to stand up for the staff, right? Now, if a staff member gets mad and cusses somebody out, he or she's terminated. It's a zero tolerance deal. You can have a bad day. They send an email at midnight. This is beeping. You're terminated. No problem. I used to do them all myself. I kind of enjoyed it. Not in a bad way, but I mean, I thought it was my responsibility. Hey, Michael, that behavior's, and sometimes they were like, I don't think it's unacceptable. I'm like, dude, we agree to disagree. You're terminated. You know what I mean? But if that was my sister or my mother, that'd be a problem for you, bro. So, like, let's just, I might get mad. So I don't even do that anymore because I might say the wrong thing. We just terminate them. So we have this mutual respect, and it has to go both ways, too. Sometimes it doesn't go both ways. So, like, we tell the agents, do this and do that and do this. And it's like, okay, well, but you have to respect them, too. So you get what you give, you know, and I'm always objective about call me. I'm not going to go like, oh, my God, that didn't happen because that staff member's great. Or this guy's, because you never know. And I think for me, we've worked really hard to create that and be respectful. And I'm like that with everybody. I'm not like trying to bother anybody. Like I'm just out there doing my deal. I'm on your side. I'm defending you. You don't I challenge people. No doubt about it. And I challenge the ones I know and I believe I can challenge. And if some people I've challenged sometimes and I shouldn't have, I'll call them up and be like, hey, dude. So, and I also got people around me that started telling me. I was like, guys, you can't just go like, yeah, he was hard on you. That was tough. You need to tell me. And they would. They'd be like, hey, man, he was just frustrated. I'm like, hey, Ben, like, I'm sorry. I love you, bro. I know you do. I didn't mean. I said, dude, I meant I'm just trying to get you better. And I was just challenging your numbers. And I wasn't trying to disparage you in front of anybody. Did you feel that way? I was uncomfortable. I said, okay. And then, you know, a year down the road, he's like, hey, dude, like, I really appreciate that. And I needed to get better at that. And I didn't know how much you cared because we didn't know each other that much. I'm like, dude, I care deeply. He's like, I know that now. So I think being consistent in our messaging, too. Also, we all still work here. If you're too big to do the small things, one day you'll be too small to do the big things. And I'm not above anything. I don't care who thinks who's in charge. I don't care. You know, I work here. People are like, man, I really appreciate taking a phone call. I work here. I really appreciate you doing a meeting. I work here. I can't believe you came out on a weekend and do a meeting. I work here. Like, dude, I work here. So I don't expect anything that it's hard to run it from your basement kind of deal, right? Like nobody respects you. Like at the end of the day, that's some of the biggest issues that we have with people in America is that we get mad and go like, whatever side you fall on, when dudes hide in their basement, nobody likes it. Doesn't matter what side you fall on because it's weird, you know? So like you've earned the respect of nobody. You have to be out there on the front lines, you know, taking the shots with people as well. So I balance it, get rid of bad apples. I don't do negativity. If you bring me something, if Michael, you and Courtney both work in the office and Michael goes, man, you know, Courtney, she's done this and this and this wrong. I said, hey, sounds real good. I said, hey, Mike, go get Courtney. And he's like, I said, no, you stay here, Michael. My other Mike, he'll get him. Come in. I say, hey, Courtney, Mike basically doesn't like anything you do. So Michael, tell her what you don't like about her. That's all I did. I did that. Agent, there's a problem with the manager. Hold on a second. What are you doing? I'm like, I'm going to call him up real quick. I'm like, hey, dude, Andrew's on the phone. Andrew, tell Zach all the stuff you don't like about him. And they stop. I'm like, if we're going to talk about people, we're going to talk about it with them. We're not talking. If we're going to talk about people, we are going to discuss it with them. If they've done something wrong, let's discuss it. But we're not going to do this he said, she said, because I fall victim to it as well in the past. And you never know what the source is. So let's just get on the phone. And we can agree to disagree. We can get on the phone. All of you can go in and like each other. Cool. Let's move on with our lives. Like we're good. So I think that's the best way we've had to balance the culture, you know, and always be protective of the agents and certainly the clients. And we're the same way with agents and clients. We're not going to let the clients treat you that way. We're not going to let you treat the clients that way. We're not. We're going to respect you and stand up for you, you know, and I think that goes a long way, and that's reverberated, I think, through the company, and people have just kind of displayed that, which has been great.
Hell yeah. No, Shawn, this is fantastic, man. So if somebody wanted to follow you, connect with you, what's the...
Work with you.
Yeah, work with you. What's the easiest way to do this?
Instagram is just my name. So it's SHAWN. It's MEAIKE. All those vowels is just Mike. Just launched a podcast called Punch Me in the Face. I'd love you to check that out. My YouTube is just my name. So I'd love to have both y'all, if you'd indulge me, come on a podcast when we get up and running, because I'd love to have you guys. Are unbelievable. And I got a book that's launching February 1st called Punch Me in the Face.
Oh, yes.
So, and it's just, you know, when life whacks you around, how do you react? And a lot of real life stuff that I hope helps. And they can follow me and get with me anyway. And, you know, Family First Life, everything goes through my Instagram. So you hit me up and let me know what you're looking for. And if I can help, I will. And if I can't, I'll tell you I can't. But I really, really appreciate y'all letting me jump on and talking with you today. It's an
Shawn,
honor.
I love this. So when your books come out, we want to get 5 of them and give them to our listeners. So if you are listening right now, do me a favor and text us at 816-727-7610 and say that you want a book. And Michael and I will send that courtesy of us. We'll send you a copy of Shawn's book.
And half of the book, so publish it, and half of everything we bring in is going to the Dream Center in California. It's a program in East LA, and Pastor Matthew Barnett's one of the coolest guys in America. So that's another reason we decided to write it too. So I'm just excited about that. So appreciate y'all helping out, and we'll send you as many as you want.
No, this has been great, man. It's been an honor. We appreciate you. We appreciate your time. For all those listening, as always, man, we appreciate you. Time's the most valuable and important asset that we all have. So we appreciate you spending time with us. Shawn, thanks again, brother.